This is one of my favorite vintage advertising campaigns of all time. And yes, Martha Stewart starred in one of their first commercials. But something that I think is really interesting is the cultural context in which this advertising campaign was created. This campaign was active from 1963 to 1981. In 62 and 63, we saw the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Beatles, Bob Dylan, and the Beach Boys all released their first albums. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, the assassination of JFK. But how did all of those events shape this advertising campaign? Well, it really changed the American mindset. The 60s started off as a golden era, but then quite literally became about the fight. Black Americans fought against racial disparity. Women fought for equal rights and equal pay. And don't forget the protests against the Vietnam War. This campaign was quite literally about the fight too, regardless of who you were. I also think it drew inspiration from Ogilvy's Hathaway shirts ad from more than a decade before. This example and the Terryton examples really do create interesting storylines and characters. This campaign was very of its time, but actually began to fizzle out in the 1980s because health concerns about cigarettes were on the rise and the government was beginning to ban the advertising of cigarettes on most mediums.